Hi guys, Kai here from Villager Homes and my colleague Ben, and we are here with our third episode of House. So today we are going to be discussing...
Why Buckden?
Why Buckden? Yeah, absolutely. As you remember from the last episode, we did say that we were going to do a different location every single week. This week we have chosen Buckden, so we will be getting that into a little bit. What else are we talking about today?
The impact, how the housing market is looking with effects from Brexit and other factors on that. So Brexit on the housing market.
Yeah, so I'm going to fall asleep in that one. Brexit on the housing market, Ben.
Without going too political into actual Brexit.
I mean, we'll go into why Buckden in a second, but Brexit just numbs my brain. It's the question
grey line that no one knows the answer to.
Yeah, it is, and it's the question that we get quite literally every other day from clients and customers. Is Brexit affecting the housing market? So we actually thought that we would probably, it's probably worth trying to do something actually on this. But while we're looking at content, it's actually really wishy-washy. I think there's about 1 billion experts in property and in Brexit that all contradict each other.
Ways.
Yeah, so we're just going to put our view on it all really and see what happens. But personally, I didn't really research too much of it, so it's only really what we're going to have from the news and obviously the research that you've done on that. So that should be quite interesting. But in general, with Brexit though, what was your overall outcome on it?
In terms of how it's impacting the market, it's again grey line. My quick snapshot of it is. It's a buyer's market if you've got no chain. Yeah. As that's who it benefits high level, first of all, and most importantly. When it comes to selling properties, it's just more of a waiting game. You've got more competition. The typical sales cycle now is longer, and the decrease in property prices and the rate of that they're growing, obviously that's massively slowed down. It's dropped, so it just makes it a longer waiting game for when it actually comes to selling the property.
Yeah, my brain's numb.
It's just patience. It's not being scared. It's not hiding in the corner. It's still going ahead and doing what you want to do, but it's just being a bit more patient.
Do you think that the media has a lot to do with all of this faff? I really do think the media is almost using not scare tactics, but they do scare the public into stuff like this, don't they?
They're given one answer to give. That's then publicised into TV, into radio, into websites. That's then one output. Then there'll be an output from, for instance, the BBC, ITV, all of the big broadcasters. They'll have their output. Yeah. They'll emphasise one side of it over the other side.
Yeah. So they're supposed to have.
They're supposed to have equal viewpoints, but a lot of them will emphasise one point over the other, and then you'll have financial industries. You'll have companies such as KPMG. Yeah. That will then put their actual analytical view on it. So it's very two-sided. Some will say that it's going to drop by X%. Some will say it's going to increase by X%. But there's no. If anyone turned around, or if I turned around now and said, you know what, Kai, it's going to do this by this percent, 100%. Jesus Christ, I'd need a magic ball to do that. No one can do that.
Yeah, I know. It's an absolute nightmare.
And I think there is frustration when, I've seen it. I don't know about yourself, but when we have conversations with people, and yes, we're in the property market. However, again, we can't turn around and say definitively, this is the reason, this is what's going to happen, X, Y, and Z. And I think there is sometimes frustration when people don't have those definitive answers, which is then causing people just to stagnate on what they're doing and sit back a bit until someone can clearly say to them, this is going to happen, do this. But then for that to happen, it's going to be 18 months, 2 years down the line, if not longer, and who can really wait that long?
Yeah. I need to drink more coffee for when we get into the Brexit conversation. I've just noticed that our Captain Tim mascot isn't in the right position, so I'm just going to move him. There we are, Captain Tim. Sorry about that, pal. Right, so why Buckden? We're going to basically give you some statistics about Buckden in general, give you a bit of an insight into, I don't know, what's sold, what's not sold, for how much, drops, rises, etc.
What you can expect to have in Buckden on your doorstep.
Also, it should be really good and insightful for anybody that's looking to come into the village. We try to go over things like all of the amenities, what's great about them, and so on, and what to expect over the next couple of years, because there's obviously a lot of activity going on in Buckton with all the new builds and things. But let's try and be quite creative. What's the let's start with the history.
Most random fact.
Most random fact?
Well, it's probably not the most random fact, but a historical fact that I've actually pulled up today.
Okay.
Buckton Palace / Buckton Towers.
Yes.
Are you familiar with it?
Bishop's Palace. Wasn't it the Bishop's Palace at first?
You may be correct with that.
Okay. Well, I think I am.
I've got a high level understanding of it. You'll have the you'll have the in detail.
Okay, go on then.
But my random history fact today is that historically, and I'm actually having to reference my notes for this. Historically, that's where the kings of England used to stay and live. Okay. Second to that, Catherine of Aragon also was held there until she moved over to Bolton Castle in 1534.
So Buckton's in the Domesday Book, isn't it? Yes. It's written in the Domesday Book. I've got some... right, actually, no, I need to do my quick fact, my random fact. So it's nothing to do with history. It's to do with the roundabout. So how many of you Bucktonians... Is Bucktonians the...
It can be.
We should do that. Bucktonians, Bramptonians, Offordonians, Godmanchester-onians. No.
It's not working.
Okay, well, we'll just say Buckton folk. So, the roundabout, which nobody likes, they should just, I don't know, build two roundabouts, one on top of each other, and create something better, which is going to be even more congested soon. The Buckton Loop. Do you know about the Buckton Loop?
I didn't properly until you notified me of it today. I've always seen Buckton Roundabout as the bane of my life.
Yeah, it is. It's because you don't contribute in the Buckton Loop, so no one will ever do it back to you. So basically, what you need to do...
It doesn't work like that.
It does work like that. It does. The more people that do it, or see that you do it, then they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that next time.
You just think that you've missed your stop.
No, they don't. They definitely don't. They appreciate it. The people that know the Buckton Loop know what this means. So basically, and now they will. Anyone that's watching this is going to know. So when you are either pulling out of Perry Road or pulling out of the High Street onto the roundabout, we all know it takes half a year to pull out because you've got the congestion from the A1 zooming by, and you have to wait for that little gap, and then you sort of like just dump the accelerator and go as fast as you can to get over. So, or you have you're behind someone that doesn't dump the accelerator and waits for a gap, and you stand there for about an hour. But when you do leave the Buckton roundabout, when you do exit onto the Buckton roundabout, you do a full circle of the roundabout slowly, and it stops the traffic on both sides of the A1, and it allows the people behind you to then pull out in front of you. So basically you do this, and it creates this great chain reaction where then they'll do it.
You're doing your one good deed for the day.
Yeah, and then before you know it, you've got a free flow on the Perry Buckton roundabout.
So what?
But not enough people do it.
Moments. Who taught you that? Where did you learn that from?
A family on Perry Road. They taught me it. Maybe it was just them that knew about it and just wanted
to encourage it.
Yeah, but no, I think a few people know about it. I've mentioned it before, and they've said, oh yeah, we do that. So it's a thing. So that's the random fact. Well, it's not really a fact. The random thing that I know.
Day. That's your tip of the day.
Tip of the day. But yeah, going back to the history of Buckton. So it was in the Domesday Book. Around about the 1086, and it was only written in there that there's only written in there about one, which was the Manor of Buckton, one property, which is the Manor of Buckton. But it's thought that there was around about 20 dwellings in the village, and then from there it grew and grew and grew and grew and grew, and it had a different name called How do I pronounce this? Buggedene.
Buge.
Yeah.
Ene. Buckton.
So that was the name that was written in the Domesday Book.
Okay. You should find out how to say that properly next time.
Yeah. Now it's called Buckton. Anyway, so do you know any more history about the property? Or was that
about the property, or do you mean about
the village?
Well, That's my history lesson of the day.
Okay.
But one other pet hate I do have on Buckden. Which
this is meant to be good things about Buckden.
It will be a good thing after.
Okay.
It will lead into the area of where this is, but the train tracks.
Well, is that not offered?
It's a combination of both. But I came through there the other day, and I sat there for 25 minutes and watched 7 trains go through.
You obviously don't cross them enough. You should know the times.
But then actually I blame you for booking my calendar appointment there. However, that does then lead over to Buckden Marina, which is lovely.
Yeah, they can be a bit of a nightmare. There is plans to redo all of that, so it should be better access anyway. But it's also a bane in my life as well. I've been stuck at that many times. But it's a good time to check your emails.
Wow.
Or WhatsApp or Tinder swipes, I don't know. Whatever you do. So let's talk a bit more seriously about the stats or sort of the prices in Buckton. Yeah. Over the last year, not much is actually completed. So as far as the land registry is concerned, so completed sales gone through, only 21 has gone through in the last 12 months.
Do you know what that was? Do you know what the year-on-year on that was from the previous year?
No, I didn't actually pull those stats off, but that's low. So thanks for asking me. I'll write it in a comment. That does seem low if you compare it to a lot of other locations. Especially Brampton, that was almost half of Brampton, so that's quite a lot. Average price paid £285,833. £1,000. That's basically, obviously that's from a 1-bedroom flat all the way up to, 5 to 6 yeah. But the average was 367,000 over the last 2 years. So so it just shows, it's probably just means that the slightly smaller properties have been selling this year and the larger properties haven't. But it has given quite a big value change of around about £7,000 under year on year.
That's right. So a small drop.
Yeah, a small drop. So the majority of the sales in Buckton, it says here the majority of the sales in Buckton were detached properties, which is obviously meaning then the much smaller properties. Quite a few of our detached properties have been but we've actually sold quite a few detached properties, haven't we? Actually, there was 2 next door to each other in School Lane. They both sold quite quickly. So it is suggesting that although that it seems to be the smaller or semi-detached properties that have been selling this year, actually, in fact, if there is detached properties on the market, they do sell quite quickly. So that's kind of a good thing. The 2 that we sold next door to each other, one was at 4, I think, around about 415, and then 415 and about 450 or something like that.
So it was around those marks.
One of them was extended, one wasn't. So that was kind of the difference in the price point. Actually, no, interestingly, the one that was smaller sold for more than the one that.
That got a lot more demand, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it was because it was in just better condition, wasn't it?
A bit of competition, but do you think it's partly as well? Just obviously, as transaction levels have dropped slightly through there. Do you think it's longevity of people staying in Buckton and the fact that they've come into it, or over the last 2-3? I know you said that the transactions have dropped, but do you think there's more longevity of people staying in Buckton?
Interesting.
Or simply, again, not going into it yet, but just people being scared of time of years and things?
Well, actually, that's a good question to elaborate on. I've noticed that you haven't said good questions so far today. Maybe I'm not asking them, or you're just consciously trying not to say it. I'm ready to rip you for saying it 10 times in a row.
I've got 4 different phrases lined up instead.
But going on to the longevity thing. Over the last 5 years, how I've known Buckton is anybody that lives in Buckton wants to stay in Buckton. They upsize in it, they downsize in it, whatever. Because it's always been a hub. Yeah, it's always been a hub. It still is a hub, but there hasn't really been any large changes with it, which is very nice. What's actually happening now is all of the new builds
start to dilute and
so none of them are actually been built yet, but with our experience with Brampton and Godmanchester, we know exactly kind of how it's going to affect I'd like to think that we know exactly how it's going to affect it. And basically what it does is there's a lot of people in the village that liked Buckden because it felt like quite a nice small community-led village, and they liked the amount of people and the amount of properties or chimney pots were in there. But as soon as these new builds come in, they don't really appreciate anymore the village anymore, so then they kind of move out back into a smaller village, which they prefer.
Starts to then build a cycle of
Yeah.
diluting. People leave, new in, and then
so then, but what does happen is new builds obviously bring in new people, but the way that they market them all, it creates a bit of a hype around it. So it actually brings a lot of new people in from out the area. So whereas a lot more properties come up for sale, it does create a lot more buyers. But we'll stay on this actually because on the longevity of people, because we will see absolutely, and we've already spoken with quite a few people at valuations. Their reasons for wanting to move out of Buckden is because they feel like it's going to be too big. They don't want the traffic and so on and so on. So that's going to happen. But what we experienced in Brampton and Godmanchester is that people were talking about it whilst there was things like planning applications in for X amount, 100 houses and so on, but didn't actually do it.
So it's all...
They waited, and then when all of the new builds came on the market, they were like, right, we need to get out of here now. So then they put their house on, and then it's in that saturated, which we talked about in episode 1, where like they just saturated it.
So much competition as well.
So yeah, what definitely does happen when you have a flood of properties coming on the market is that the property prices do drop a bit, or you hold out for that price and maybe you do get that buyer at the sort of the now value price, like if it was,
it just links into having the patience for that.
Yeah, and having the patience, or you wait to the end of it. But when we're talking about 700 to 800 houses potentially, at the moment there's not been that many confirmed, but 700 to 800 houses potentially, that's a lot of property to come on the market, and it will all come on at similar times. I mean, there's 4 stages in total that have been discussed. 2 of them are basically confirmed. Well, one's 100% confirmed, the second one's pretty much confirmed. So then you've got stage 3 and 4, which is, I'm pretty sure, going to be in application very soon. So you can have a lot of properties that are going to flood the market over about a 2-year period. And if we're talking about how many houses, did I say, sold last year? 21 sales completed, compared to, let's even half it, let's say 400 houses coming on in 2 years. That's 200 houses a year that they're expecting to sell. Now they will sell them, but it's gonna hurt.
But then as well, the new houses, a lot of those are going to be targeted for different people, different demographics of individuals.
Yeah, that's right. But so staying on the positive part of Buckden is, we know that the main competition for new builds are the houses that are built sort of like late 90s plus or 2000 plus. We know that houses that have been built over the last 20 years still fall into that sort of new build category. Although they're not new, they reside on similar sized plots. They are in similar proximity to other properties. They have similar parking setups and situations. So although they're not brand new, or they might have extensions on or not extensions or so on and so on.
Got a very slightly shiny feel to them.
Yeah, so the people that are viewing those properties will also likely be considering the new builds, and that's the problem that you'll get with some of the roads in Buckden. But actually, Buckden's quite nice because there is a lot of properties that are built. The majority of Buckden was built way before that. So you have like School Lane, where the properties are built much further apart on large plots, nice driveways and so on. So you're just not going to get that same house on a new build. It just won't happen. It won't exist. So that's good. So they're kind of saved from the new builds. I wouldn't worry too much if I lived in one of those and I was going to put my house on the market at the same time as 100 new builds that are currently flooding the market on Rightmove. And then obviously you've got all the period properties as well. You've got so many like Silver Street, Church Road, and so on. So you've kind of got a lot going on as far as the period houses selling in general, and they won't be hit by it either.
No, it's just it's understanding what the competition looks like and where you fall into that, and then it's just simply having the patience around it.
Yeah, so I've just pulled off the numbers for the Gladman stuff, which is the developer. So he's bought the Lux Lane development already. That's 180 houses ish.
Okay.
And then stage 2 is 340. That was the land that's been purchased off the Church of England. So that's going to happen. So we're already at what, 340, 480, 520. So we're already at 520 houses with stage 3 and 4, 250 and 350. So
6, just over 1,100 houses then.
Yeah, so that's what's potential. Okay, let's take a few hundred off, but it's still going to happen.
Yes, realistically, probably
Yeah.
the 800 mark, which.
Yeah, so it's going to be a bigger village, but I mean, let's not dwell on that. Let's talk about all the positives and the reasons why Buckden is actually so great, because a lot of people want to still be there, and I for one love Buckden. I mean, this is where
I think every day we have a conversation that you've either been to the butchers or been playing tennis or or whatnot in Buckden.
Yeah, exactly. Huge plug as well to Buckden Tennis Club. Anybody that wants to get into tennis, it's a great club.
Do you know what I did once?
What?
I went for a stage a few years ago of all the gear, no idea with tennis. I walked into it was actually called a sweatshop, but they've closed down now. Not a literal sweatshop.
Yeah, I remember sweatshop.
I went into one of them, spent ridiculous amount of money on tennis racket, and all of this. Used it once and it sat in my boot ever since.
You should come and play tennis one day.
I get frustrated too quickly.
Oh, it's fine. So I never played tennis before, and I just thought to myself, I'm going to start a new sport. So it was Peter Fielder that was the chairman at the time, and I just managed to call him, and he said, yeah, come down. Okay. So I was really bad, and I just carried on playing there because it's such a great community, and there's loads of things going on. So let me finish my plug. Buckden Facebook group, if you search in there for Buckden Tennis Club, you'll find it. Give the guys a call, get booked in. So Saturday and Sunday mornings and Wednesday evenings is club night, and Thursdays is team practice, or if you feel like you're a bit more advanced, then just come along to the Thursday evenings, and then there's loads of teams and different matches and stuff. So that's the plug over. There you go, Buckden people. So yeah, butchers. Days butchers. So what other amenities? So you've got the
and Fairbanks.
And Fairbanks. Have you been in there?
I haven't. I've been requested to go in there. But I'm not too fond of shopping sometimes. So I try and,
do they cater for men's clothes?
I don't believe. I think it's more the ladies' clothes.
Yeah. I love it. So I can remember sitting out the George Hotel on the terrace on the patio bit. Yeah. Really nice sunny day weekend, and Fairbanks had a sale, and all you could see was these
after badge, like char after char.
Yeah, Range Rover pulling up. They'll park up. The guy goes out, and you just see him sitting with the G&T on the patio waiting. The missus is obviously in there with the bank card, going shopping, and then they meet up afterwards and then have a meal and then go home. It was really fun to watch, actually, because it was like every 10 minutes the same scenario happening. But yeah, so it's got Anne Fairbanks. So if you're really into that like boutique designery style clothes, there's a load of very nice garments in there, and it's really well known.
Actually, in Buckden, haven't you? I mean,
you've got loads of boutique shops. There's a boutique swimwear shop. I remember going in there to buy a is it a sarong thing, scarf thing?
Yeah, I remember you telling me about this, actually.
For a present, and thinking that it was going to cost something like £10, and I'm sure it was over £100. So unfortunately, it wasn't for me at the time. I ended up going to Peacocks afterwards.
No, we following on from your shoes, we all know that you went ahead and bought it.
I live in a caravan right now.
I'm not going to say anything on that.
Yeah, so Anne Fairbanks, it's got the George, which we just mentioned. They've actually got two really nice hotels in Buckden. You've got the Lion Hotel and the George Hotel. Both are quite different atmospheres, but really, really nice for different reasons. So the George, I feel, has like a much more contemporary, very fashionable style. You could definitely go out there on a date, or people book that place up for just a nice weekend away. Yeah. It's a really, really nice hotel. And then the Lion, it had a refurbishment over the last year and a half. I can't remember exactly when. And they've changed a lot around as far as the bar and the seating area, and it just brings in really nice people, and you can just find yourself there. Like, I always think that the Lion's my winter place, and then the George is my summer place, because in the winter it's got like a lovely big fire and some big nice Chesterfield sofas, and you can just flat. And it's a really big place, and they've obviously got the hotel as well, which does really well. And then you've got the Vine Pub, which is good. It's sort of like a nice place to go for a beer or a drink in there. I'm not sure what it's like on the food because I've never really eaten there, but it's not a bad place. I think the last time I was in there, I was really young and had a pool table in there, but a lot's probably changed since then. And then it's got some other like boutique clothes shops, hasn't it, as well? So it has got quite a lot going on.
Sort of your expected facilities, as in the primary school, you've got doctors, dentist, post office.
Where's the dentist?
I can't remember the street off the top of my head.
Of course, it's Silver Street on the corner. Yeah, I was trying to think where is. Yeah, because we sold the White Cottage opposite. I can't remember the name.
And then we've just brought one onto the market on Silver Street as well.
Have we? Which one's that?
It is a 4-bedroom semi-detached.
Oh yeah.
At the top end.
Yeah, that's nice. We should be doing a video on that soon actually, because I think the photos definitely don't
do it
justice because it's such TARDIS how it's been extended.
Yes.
On it. And for the price, you get a lot for your money there because the ground floor, that big utility room. Yeah,
a lot of work into that as well.
Yeah,
a lot of refurbishment.
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting because the prices are really similar to then another one that we've got on the Hunt's End, which I'm actually doing a video for after this.
Yeah. Very different properties.
Yeah, so like one's Victorian and one's like new build, but really similar sizes inside. Both have been extended, both similar sized gardens. Hunt's End or Monk's Cottages is much more in the central of Buckden, right next to the tennis club, which is why I really like it. And then Silver Street is slightly more on the outside of the village, but the size of the house that you get for the money is just absolutely incredible. So yeah, they're both good properties to have a look at. But we were talking about the dentist. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, now I know where it is. What else about Buckton's so great?
I think it's just the accessibility as well. It's the accessibility of a lot of things. I mean, you've got the catchment area for Hinchinbrook Secondary School.
Yeah.
You've got the access to Huntingdon and St Neots train stations.
Yeah.
So accessibility to commute-wise as well and transport links, I should say, is a big game point.
A lot of people choose Buckton as well for good commuting links to Kimbolton School because the bus does go through it. So that's really, really good as well. And like you said, Hinchinbrook Secondary School as well, which is a very good school. So you can jump straight onto the A1. I mean, it's basically it's right down the side of the A1. The A1 links you to wherever you need to go pretty much, doesn't it? And it's a commuting hotspot. You have to kind of decide whether you go to Huntingdon train station or St Neots train station.
Depending on if you want to sit or stand mainly, isn't it?
Yeah, sit or stand or wherever you're late.
Yeah.
So loads of people have different views on this that I talk to in the village that do commute. But basically, you can go to Huntingdon train station. It's sort of like the second stop after Peterborough, and you're very likely to be able to get a seat. And but it's sort of like 10, 11 minutes earlier than the St Neots stop. Or you can go to the St Neots stop, and you're less likely to get a seat. Still a possibility. But I always, if I lived in Buckton and I commuted to London, I'd be thinking, right, go to the Huntingdon station is my number one thing. And then if I am late, then at least I'm going to be able to just go straight to the St Neots station and definitely make it. So that was my kind of thought on it. Anyway, so yeah, and then obviously links to the A14 take you north, south, wherever you want to go, really. And the train links actually is worth mentioning for people that aren't aware. If you go to Huntingdon or St Neots, it's like a fast track service from Huntingdon. It's 40, I think it's 48, but between 45 and 50 minutes to be able to get directly to King's Cross, which is excellent. I mean, it takes twice that to move to go into Cambridge at the moment.
No, so yes, it does offer a lot, and it's just. It's quite a special place, really. Yeah,
and then you've also got everyone local knows about the new A14 layouts and things like that. So you've also got all of that coming into play. So it actually should help with the road links as well, being able to bring you into the likes of Cambridge, which has been a bit of a bugbear for a lot of people over the last years, a lot faster. So that should be quite good as well. But yeah, Buckton's got a lot of history. I like it. The whole general feel of it for me is that it's just a very nice place to be. I know that's like so broad, but it just is.
It's very welcoming. It's very community centred. It's got everything you need in there, and then it's got on the side of sounding potentially slightly snobby. When it comes to wanting a nice drink or a nice dinner, you've got the accessibility to do that.
Yeah, so it attracts that demographic of people.
Crowded in a pub with everyone stood on each other's toes.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. It's got something special about it. My favourite day to visit Buckton is summer on a Sunday afternoon, and you sit outside the George and you can people watch and just
watch the world go by,
soak in the atmosphere, and it's so nice. It really is. Yeah, so it's a very good place to be. The property prices are reasonable. They're sort of very similar to Brampton and Godmanchester. It wasn't long ago where Buckden was actually a lot more expensive, or a lot less reasonably priced, shall I say, than those two other locations. But everything seems to have caught up with each other and has a similar sort of understanding because they just cater for the same sort of people. But I think the demographics are open to so many people as well, like sort of that semi-retired, retired, there's a lot to do.
And young families as well.
And then the younger families as well, yeah, with the schooling situation and set up. So, yeah, Buckden, if you are looking in the Cambridgeshire area, if you're commuting to London, if you're commuting to Cambridge, if you want that village lifestyle with lots of quite luxurious amenities and facilities, then Buckden's a very good choice. And I surprisingly, I feel like I have to say that quite a lot to people because we get a lot of people coming into the office that are saying, right, we're interested in Godmanchester and we're interested in Brampton. And like for some reason, people are both interested in both Godmanchester and Brampton. And I'm like, well, have you also considered Buckden? yeah. And they're like, oh, I don't know. I've never really thought about it. Yeah. So now I can just send them a link to this podcast, and hopefully it will explain to them why.
Give them a bit more information and a bit more authenticity around it. As a third to us sat there, this. It's more just actually words around it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, right. So let's conclude that Buckden is also a great place to live.
Do you know what we can start doing? We'll do it from next week. I say
Score
we'll do
it
from next week. We'll give it an out of 10 rating.
Okay, go on then. Score Buckden, but on what basis?
What we'll do, so we're going to have a criteria which is for facilities, for standard facilities, and what I mean by that is schools, GPs, doctors, and all of those bits. That's going to be standard facilities. We're then going to have local shops, and in this case boutiques. So we're going to have a couple of criteria, and I'm literally making this up as I go along now, so there may be a hoarding block in it. We're going to be a bit snobby with it, and we're going to have it as how premium. That's not the right phrase, and we'll evolve that phrase.
Okay.
And then we'll have a phrase. We'll have one which is transport links. Okay. So to start with, we've got.
What about like the grounds, like football pitches and so on?
We'll include that into local facilities.
Okay, because that's important because there's a lot and we missed that out. Yeah, there's actually a really big on the main grounds behind the tennis courts. There's they do all sorts of sports there, football and so on and so on, and they have a big festival once a year, and it's really worth checking that out. Yeah, there's quite a lot of things going on in Buckden actually. It has got a lot for it. Okay, right. so let's do the score then.
Transport links out of 5. We're going to do 1 out of 5.
0 to 5. Transport links would be a. Can you do like point, or does it just have to be?
You can do a point if you want to. You can't do 0.7 or 0.3. It's only 0.5.
0.5. Oh, this is really hard.
What we'll do is, because there's actually to transport links, there's 2 sides. There's potential and then there's current. So it's all based on how it currently is now, not where it's going to be, how it is now.
How it is now. Okay, I'm going to say 3.5/4.
No, you've got to pick one.
4.
4, good. That's what I had. So we're joint on that. Local facilities.
4.5 for me. What, local facilities like with the leisurely stuff? Or?
So your local facilities is going to be schooling, doctors, dentist, the post office.
4.5, only because I don't want to give my first one a 5, but I mean it should be a 5 really, but I'm going to say 4.5.
5. Local shops, boutiques, pubs, all inclusive for being here.
5. The best facilities around here, as far as I'm concerned.
And then we're now going to go for our premium feel.
Yeah, I mean, I think thinking to the next sort of dozen locations that we're about to do over the weeks,
Buckden's going to be
it's my favourite. Yeah, it's 4.8.
No, 4.5. Okay.
But what can beat it?
Pardon? What can beat it? What can beat it is if I see a fleet.
Oh, maybe like Kim Bolton.
Or if I see a fleet of Bugatti Veyrons going through, that then gives it a 6.
Okay, all right.
So
4.5
out
just
of 5
reserved.
altogether, we're going to give that a. Out of 5 altogether, we'll give it a 4.8.
Okay, fine.
which is it's on the final stage.
Okie doke. Right, so let's move into...
Now,
So we've got an overall?
an overall, scoring,
Yeah.
4.8
Oh, you're allowed to go on that?
on the overall, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go 4.6.
Okay. So the general consensus is 4.7. 4.7 out of 5.
That's not too bad.
Okay. Now it's... we'll touch back into... Obviously that's Buckden. And every week again, we'll continue to look at a different area.
Yeah.
We've had Godmanchester.
So we need to backdate
Buckden.
Godmanchester?
And then, no, we'll start it from Buckden. Godmanchester to come inclusive at the end.
Okay, fine.
And next week, who are we going to cover next week? Or where are we going to cover, I should say?
Brampton.
Doorstop. Brampton. So Brampton next week will be our hit point.
Yeah.
We'll look at all of the same topics and understand overall what it's out of 5.
Okay, fine. Let's move on to the most boring subject I think we're going to present over the next few months. Brexit.
I think what we'll do though is I have got a few notes here. So there's so many stats around it. It's not one that you can just pull a random stat out the air. So I've pulled some stats on different areas of the housing market, and I mean, when I watch things myself, I'll quite often think, well, are they not just making that stat up? So if it is the case that anyone wants to know where these stats are from, they can just send us a message and we can go back to them on that to prove that these are actual figure points.
Yeah, okay, fine.
But I think with this as well, it's important that we don't go into our personal feelings around Brexit and what it's doing to every different area of life under sun. We'll look at just the housing market, impact historically, what it looked like before, what it looks like now, and I mean, I say what it will look like in the future, not that anyone can actually gauge that themselves. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we'll just look at sort of the general feel and what it feels like for a buyer, what it feels like for a seller from our perspective, and then what it feels like sort of for ourselves. We touched it earlier, Kai, around sort of the conversations that we have. How many conversations do you think you have a week when someone says to you, "Oh, Kai, tell me about Brexit. What's it going to do for my house sale?" Or "Kai, tell me about Brexit. What's it going to do for me buying a house?"
Well, it definitely has to be included. I would say all the time, basically, that, like I said, it's part of now my general introduction into what their property's worth, because it has a reflection on the property value. I think the main thing is the main question that I'm getting is kind of how much has it affected, and that's really, really difficult to answer. But what I usually kind of come back with is what it's doing is it's creating just less transactions, because a lot of people are sitting on their hands waiting for it to happen. Now, how many years ago did we vote to come out of the EU?
It was 2016.
Yeah. So 2016, this all happened, and everybody was just like, I'm going to sit on my hands and wait. And over the years, people have got really bored of waiting because they've got their plans in their head.
And I think now that it went to the stage where, okay, we're bored, let's move ahead. And now, because it's so near, actually
they're waiting
a deal
again.
Or a no deal being made, it's now, let's move back to sit on our hands.
Yeah. So like 2017 was a really, really good year. I think mainly because people quite literally just got bored of waiting.
Yes.
And now it's sort of... Sorry, 2018, pardon me. It was a really good year. And now it's kind of like come back into the stage of, okay, well, we're just going to see what's happened. So we've got a lot of the properties, I think, especially on the higher end, that are struggling the most, because I think that it's a smaller demographic of market anyway, and they are really concerned about how much potential money that they're going to potentially lose or make.
And I suppose
I
know it's a case in which this is probably going to be quite a sweeping statement. It's not a sweeping statement, it's probably 50-50. When it comes to whether it's buying high end or lower end, a lot of people will need to sell their property to then be able to fund the new purchase. And what I've seen is the case in which the reason why people sometimes are very queryable about looking to purchase a new property is because they're scared they're not going to get the value for theirs. So then they don't want to put themselves in that financial sticking point as well.
Yeah, but the way that I see it is, if you're buying, so let's think about this. If you're buying in a decreasing market, then it's good to upsize.
Yes.
If you're buying in a rising market, it's good to downsize, because the margins work better. But if you're buying almost like for like, so say like or going up one jump, so say like you're selling a house for £400,000 and then you're going to have a budget of say £500,000. In percentage terms, we're not talking loads of money. And I think if people start to think that way, then they would be more okay with listing their property in an adverse market.
I think the best way to look at it, when it is a financial standpoint, is looking at it percentually. And percentage-wise, I mean, if a house selling for 400,000, 10% of that is 40,000, 5% is 20,000.
Yeah.
If I said to you, okay, this is hypothetically speaking, your house is worth this, you need, or we can sell it for an extra 5% over what it looks like. This is just a random statement now. You're going to think 5%, oh, it's not, okay, 5% is 5%, it doesn't sound like that much. But if you turn around now and try, we can do it's £20,000, then that looks huge for some people.
Yeah, but the way that I see it is, okay, so your house is now worth 20% less than what it was 2 years ago. Okay, fine. Well, that's really extreme. It's obviously not going to be that, but I'm using it in really extreme circumstances. So, but they're thinking, right, okay, so 2 years ago my house was worth £400,000 and now it's worth, let's use just 10% for easy things, so now it's worth £360,000. Therefore, I'm just going to wait because I want 400 grand for my house to be able to move to my next stage. Okay, fine. But when your house goes up or down in value, so will whatever property it is that you're buying. So actually, if you just look at it as far as a margin or a percentage, I prefer margins than percentage. Yes. I prefer actually doing the exercise of, okay, right, this is the house that you want to buy at this value. This is what yours is worth. They're both going to go up on a sliding scale. In fact, actually, if you think in a percentage term and you're waiting for the market to go back up again, then on a percentage term, this one will be worth even more over your margin. So just consider it as, if you were to sell your house for £1, if you could buy the house that you want for £1 and sell yours for £1, if it was like for like at 400,000, you'd do it because you're not winning, you're not making or losing any extra money.
Just transitioning.
Yeah. So people that are waiting for something to happen, I kind of like recommend to explore the market, have a look and see what's out there.
I think with waiting as well is there's so many arguments for. It's typically split into two categories, the arguments, between the experts, I should say. On one side, you've got the financial auditors, your KPMGs and companies such as that. The CEO or director of NatWest put a statement out and they put their estimation on it. And then on the flip side, you've got, there was what I read it a few days ago, the CEO of Rightmove and a few other housing professionals, Gentle Paul, who does the BBC show, he did one. It's typically the financial auditors are giving one side and saying it's going to increase by, in some cases, they're saying up to 2%. And then the housing market professionals, and when I say professionals, I mean high level CEOs of Rightmove, and they're saying, okay, they could see a drop down to 2%. So there's arguments on both sides, fluctuations on both sides, and then there's broader statements of the drops and the increases. And I think because it is the case in which no one definitively knows what's going to happen, where it's going to go, what harm really is it going to do, exploring what's going on and researching and understanding what your property looks like. And I think that's what a lot of people just aren't considering. They're reading one side of the argument, sticking with that one side of the argument because they've ever read it, they've seen it on the news, and or their friend or their family's told them about it, and then they've just taken it as gospel.
Yeah, with these huge national things, I just think, frankly, what's affecting you is affecting everything else. So if your house is worth less, so is the one that you're buying. If your house is worth more, so is the one that you're buying. So if you're selling to buy, it shouldn't make any difference. And if your house has been on the market for 5 months and you're moaning because it's all about Brexit, then reduce your price. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure the house that you want is going to be at a reduced price anyway. So, if Brexit didn't exist, your house would be worth more, but so is the house that you want to buy.
So it's all in proportion.
Yeah, absolutely. But people aren't thinking like that. As far as I'm concerned, they're just not. They are completely thinking that, my house is worth this, I need to get this to be able to buy what I want. But actually, if Brexit didn't even exist, your house might be worth this, but the one that you want is going to be worth a lot more, so you wouldn't have been able to get it anyway. So that's my view on that. But how's it affecting the interest rates? Or how is it going to? Did you do any study on the interest rates?
Yep.
Okay.
So some hardline sort of figures now. In terms of property value increases and decreases, it's just slowed down. It's at the moment they've come to the figure of 0.72%, give or take, as sort of a static increase in property. But then that's compared to 2016 as an example, where it was at 8.17%. So it's still slightly moving forward, but just a lot slower pace.
Are we talking about interest rates?
What do you want interest rates on? I'm talking about house property values still.
Okay. I just said, what about interest rates? And then you went, yep. And then you carried on talking about that. Okay, sorry. That's why I got confused, that was all.
I would say interest rates. So when it comes to interest rates, they are low at the moment, which is beneficial, and it's massively helping the first-time buyers. I mean, obviously the government come out and they've had so much pressure on them to help people get onto the property ladder, into the property market. With that, there's been a lot of pressure into banks. Well, there's not been the pressure into banks as they'll make their own decisions, but they've then made the consensus to slightly decrease the interest rates and provide lower interest rates, abiding you're in the financial position in which you can support the credit rating for that. But I mean, you're looking now at a typical interest rate of about 2%.
And do you know, I think people that are maxing out their budgets, mortgages, and so on, based on these interest rates, are living in fairy tale land, because they're going to go up. We are living in a fairy tale land at these interest rates. I think it's going to change.
I think I speak from sort of family I know, conversations I have, friends that I have, and a lot of people, probably about 65% of people I know, they've just got themselves into the mindset now of live beyond your means. A lot of people are living, whether it being getting a house and with your mortgage and maxing it out, whether it being getting a brand new nice car, it's because there's on the front end there's these low interest rates with small payments. They're not realising actually when it comes to it, this adds up, and they're just going to put themselves in a position where they can't financially and viably support what is going on and how it's going from there.
So this is I'll make it as less controversial as possible. Do you think we are going to remain or not remain?
Oh, you want a personal opinion?
Yeah, not on necessarily what you want, just what you think is going to happen.
Yes, yeah. This is crystal ball time.
Yeah.
And it's trying to predict what Bojo's going to do if he's still the main man. I reckon, I think it will end up a no deal.
Okay.
And then with that in mind, there's so many arguments. So we're going to go back into a new.
There's going to be a general election. Go back into a new vote.
No, that won't happen.
Okay.
No, what will happen? There won't be another referendum. I don't think.
Okay.
I think it will result in no deal, and if it's a case in which it gets to the 1st of November, and that's correct, then I'm going to chop this bit of the tape, and then I'm going to predict my lottery numbers. But then there's the arguments. If it's a no deal, the arguments are then. There's two arguments. There's one in which it's going to deflate the market down to sort of up to 7%.
Yeah.
And if in London and the major cities like that, you're looking at more 13 to 15%.
Yeah.
And these are all stats that I've pulled off sort of credible sources online. So if anyone's got queries about it, just feel free to just send a message. But then on the flip side, again, you've got some companies which will say, no, it will stay stable. It will move to 2%. So no one can predict what's going to happen with that. And I think it's
okay.
just...
So that's fine. Is it going to have like some huge dramatic effect on the market? I mean, at the moment we're in limbo world.
Actually. I think a lot of the people that have been sat there now, or sitting now, I should say, thinking, let's wait. It's going to happen. They're going to think, okay, it's happened. This is now the situation. Let's move.
So that's property transactions. So then property transactions are going to go up. Okay, I agree. What about property value?
I think for the short term, I think it will decrease while everything stabilises. And then I think it will be the case, as it has done historically, it will even itself out and then just grow. It's a longevity game. It's not many people, I say not many people, again, it's my opinion, buy a property to then think, I'm going to move in 2 years. I'm going to move in 3 years. A lot. I mean, I did read an article and it was saying the typical time frame spent in a property is roughly 6 to 7 years.
Yeah.
Within that gives everything will have ironed back out then. But I think short term, there will be a drop. After that, it will even itself out. The economy will start to stabilise again. if it does drop as they predict it will drop, then sort of everything else, which will obviously impact house prices amongst a number of other things.
And will interest rates go up, do you think?
See, this is one that I'm not sure on.
Mm.
The reason why that I think is so hard, because you've got companies like NatWest now, which are introducing 100% mortgages.
Yeah.
And unless they're doing it to try and be really, really sly and get people on this and then completely undercut them 18 months down the line or when they renew their mortgage and throw it up to...
Yeah.
If they're solely doing it as a credit tactic.
The thing is, like, I can't see it going in any other direction other than up. Right? There's just no way that we can go down from where we are now. And we've been like this for quite some time, and I think they've done very, very well to hold the interest rates around this sort of level. But it's going to change, and it's going to go up. So these 100% mortgages and things that
I think
NatWest are doing,
awful.
God, bring back this is like 1980s again. It's anyway, that's a story for another day. The 100% mortgages. I think that we should maybe make that into a big topic. And so you're getting 100% mortgages. Your interest rate's gonna bunch up. So that could affect everybody. I remember back in 2008 when the last crash happened, there was repossessions everywhere, and with these 100% mortgages, with interest rates spiking, if something like that happens, there's going to be repossessions again.
I'm in two minds on a personal opinion. I'm in two minds as to whether it's... I use NatWest as an example because that's who I've seen leading it. I'm not sure if some of the other banks have started to go ahead with it yet. They may do, they may not, but I'm using NatWest as an example because that's the main one that I've seen leading it. I'm just in two minds as whether they're doing it for longevity and then thinking, okay, we can sustain this for 5-10 years, and it's them actually really proactively trying to lead the way with re-pioneering how people can get onto the property market, or if it's solely them thinking, right, we can get in early here, we can sell everyone a massive dream, a big false hope, and then we can just put everything else from underneath them in 2-3 years' time, and then just double our revenue.
So, shall I ask you, what do you think of Boris Johnson then?
This is either going to win us.
No. Well,
I think he's very brazen, but I think because of how he is, and he's so strong-minded, I think he's the best of a bad bunch, I'll say.
I actually really like the guy. There's something about him that I think he's the right
bunch.
He's the right person to be to get us out. Actually, I think he's got the right mindset.
He just wants to get it done.
And the trouble is, he needs more of the right people behind him, because it just seems like it's the going to be the never-ending argument, just constantly battling against each other. This is what happens when it's so split like this. I mean, this whole how did the court rule it? What was it called when he?
That it was unlawful.
I mean, come on. What was he accused of? What was the exact?
He was accused of lying to the Queen regarding suspending Parliament.
Yeah, was he
misleading?
Misleading, that's the one. That's what I was trying to find. Yeah, I mean, no, he didn't. But they're trying to. He's basically probably just said, "Queen, we need to do this because we need to do this," right?
With a few. What I struggle to believe as well is, surely if he's in the room with the Queen, is it really going to be them two on their own in that room?
Yeah, they're just sitting there having a cup of tea on their own,
surely
just
there's going to be other people
whispering on her ear.
I think that you should really do this.
Yeah.
Everyone, all it is it's just when I personally think when it comes to Parliament now and the politics, instead of actually supporting it, it's just everyone's pulling each other down. So then they want to be the glory person and lead the way, even though they have no idea how to do it.
Yeah,
and especially that one gentleman within that, which I think is just we'll avoid that word and that phrase for him, but I think Jeremy Corbyn is just an idiot in the nicest way possible. And I think he just comes out with such nonsense, and he's just making it so much worse with half of the rigmarole that he spills.
Mm-hmm.
Now we won't go into that anymore. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, we're actually running out of time now, so we need to put this to a close. So just to summarise, though, on the whole Brexit thing, I think that the key thing is to remember that it's not just you or your property that's in that situation. It's everyone. So, I appreciate if you're waiting because you want to, say, like downsize quite heavily, in that case, maybe it is worth waiting, because on a percentage terms, if the property values rise dramatically, then that's a kind of good idea to wait. But actually, if most people do move in similar sort of price ranges, give or take probably about 20%, I'd say.
It's very rare someone's going to drop from jump from a 3-bedroom semi-detached up to a 5-6 bedroom
mansion. Yeah, so it is rare. So with these 20% gaps, we're not talking crazy amounts of money in percentage terms from what you currently have. So if you are waiting, there's no point. Put your property on a value that's, yes, lower than what it could be worth if none of this existed.
However, again,
you're going to buy something. So that's kind of my view on it, really, and that's what I have to explain quite a bit to a lot of people. Look at it as margins, work out what you can find on the market for X price, then work out your value, and then make sure that margin works for you.
Yeah, I understand, and just not living beyond your means and going too overboard with it.
Yeah. So thanks, guys. If you just again, thanks for some of the constructive messages. I know that I said something slightly wrong about Brampton. Sorry, about Godmanchester. So I appreciate that message, and we corrected that in the comments. But if you want us to talk about if you're in Kimbolton or Stoneleigh or wherever, and you want us to do a review on your location in one of our podcasts, then feel free to send us a message. But if you liked what you hear, please do click the like button, click the share. It's always nice to get it out there to as many people to view it. And so, next week we are talking about why Brampton, and we haven't really come up with the second subject yet, but I think there's some spin-offs from this one that we could actually do on that one. Thanks very much, guys. Bye for now.